I can't take it anymore. Kill me already." At the heartbreaking cry of my emaciated daughter chained up, I was left speechless. I headed to my daughter's house, where contact had been lost shortly after her marriage. What I saw there was the pitiful state of my beloved child. Was the promise of happiness from the son-in-law, who vowed to take care of her, a lie? I won't forgive this, no matter what. Trembling with anger, I vowed to return my daughter's suffering twofold to that man. Having lost my husband to illness at an early age, I raised my daughter Iris single-handedly while working as a nursery teacher. There were many challenges, both financially and emotionally, but we overcame them together with my honest and gentle daughter. I worked at the nursery until I was 60, and in the year I retired, Iris's marriage was discussed. And when the day for my daughter's wedding was set, various thoughts raced through my mind, filling my heart. However, when Iris introduced her husband Oliver to me, the impression wasn't very good. 8 years older than my daughter, he had a somewhat commanding tone towards Iris, perhaps because of that. He greeted me properly and remained polite throughout, but even when Iris made tea for Oliver, he didn't say thank you and acted as if he didn't notice. He might be domineering, but somehow I felt there was more to it, and it bothered me somewhere deep in my heart. However, my daughter, who lost her father at a young age, might have been seeking some shadow of a father figure in Oliver, who was 8 years older. Iris is a modest type, so maybe someone who takes charge like him is a better fit. I had concerns about Oliver's attitude, but it's natural for any parent to worry when marrying off their child. So, I decided to reconsider and warmly watch over their future together. Moreover, seeing Iris happily supporting him at the wedding, I felt reassured. After registering their marriage, the daughter and son-in-law began living in the house where he originally lived. Although it was in the same city as my house, Oliver's residence was on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by fields, with hardly any other houses nearby. I was a little worried that Iris might feel lonely, but I heard that Oliver had started his own business about 6 years ago, making use of the land. Apparently, he sold vegetables from surrounding farms through online sales, and Iris was enthusiastic about helping Oliver with his work since their marriage. His shop has high ratings online. I really respect him. I want to do my best to support him as a wife too. Yes, make sure you do. But don't overdo it from the start. Seeing Iris, determined with pink cheeks, made me feel relieved and amused. You really love Oliver, don't you? I'll support you too. Moreover, Iris's words seemed to be true. Oliver's business was indeed going quite smoothly, and I had heard that he was steadily repaying the loans he had taken out when starting the business. I believed that my daughter was living happily with her beloved person. However, about a month after Iris got married, communication with her started to dwindle. She used to send me a message every 3 days, saying she didn't want me to worry, but suddenly those messages stopped coming, and even when I messaged Iris, she didn't even read them. I wonder if something happened? I can't even reach her by phone. Becoming worried, I called the landline at my daughter and son-in-law's house instead of her mobile, but her husband answered and said he was busy, not letting me talk to Iris. When I tried calling again later, I found out that calls from both my daughter's mobile and the landline at their house were being rejected. What on earth? This is really strange. Filled with unease, I couldn't sit still and drove to check on my daughter's condition. Even though the distance by car was only about 20 minutes, it felt incredibly far, but I managed to arrive at my daughter and son-in-law's house. At first glance, Oliver's car was not parked there. I had heard that during weekdays, my daughter often visited farms, so she might be out. For the time being, I headed to the front door and pressed the intercom, but there was no response. "Are you not home?" "But I can't leave until I confirm Iris's safety." No matter how many times I rang the doorbell, there was no response, so I approached the front door. "Iris? Are you there?" "It's your mom. Sorry for coming all of a sudden." M.O. There. Taking a chance and calling out, I faintly heard my daughter's voice coming from the back of the house. Hastily, I made my way to the yard, and what I saw there was an unbelievable sight. "I can't take it anymore. Kill me already." Under the cold winter sky, Iris muttered those words, her eyes unfocused, her cheeks sunken, bearing no resemblance to her former self. But what shocked me the most was the fact that my daughter's limbs were chained. Why is Iris in this state? What is Oliver doing? Unable to accept the reality immediately, various questions raced through my mind, but above all, helping my daughter was the priority. "Iris, Mom will help you now. Just hold on a little longer." I tried to encourage her, but she only nodded weakly. Her appearance only increased my anxiety. A few minutes later, I managed to unchain her, and I could finally free my daughter. "Your body is freezing. Let's get inside and warm up first." As I tried to put a jacket on my trembling daughter and lead her inside, she started trembling as if she was scared of something. This is definitely not right. It might be better to take her to my house. I put Iris in the car, worried about her condition, and decided to take her to the hospital first. Although she was physically and mentally weakened, fortunately, there were no serious issues, and she was able to return home after receiving intravenous fluids just to be safe. Returning to the house where my daughter and I had lived together for many years, Iris seemed to regain some composure. "Here, drink this and warm up. If it's too much, you don't have to force yourself." What happened? After making hot milk tea, which Iris loved, I broached the subject. "Thank you." "Well, you see." As Iris took a sip of the milk tea, she began to speak little by little, revealing something shocking. It turns out, shortly after they got married and started living together, Oliver began to abuse Iris whenever something displeased him. Furthermore, she was made to work tirelessly from morning till night, ordered to find new farms to procure vegetables, and if she couldn't, she wasn't allowed into the house. I hugged my daughter as she said that, but at that moment, her phone started ringing continuously. When Iris looked at the screen, her complexion changed instantly. Curious, I looked at my daughter's phone and saw several messages from my son-in-law saying, "Where did you go? I won't let this slide. Iris, give your phone to Mom." "Take a break for today," I suggested, wanting my daughter to feel at ease. After taking her to the room she used before getting married, I sat in the living room thinking about the future, and once again, my daughter's phone rang. As expected, "It's him calling," I said to myself. The caller was indeed Oliver.
"Hey, Iris. You think you can just go off with your mom? I'll make sure both of you regret it."
When I answered the phone, my son-in-law, mistaking me for my daughter, suddenly started yelling. "Oliver, this is Iris's mother. How dare you treat my daughter so badly?"
"What the? You took my wife without permission. I'm coming over there right now."
As my son-in-law revealed his true nature, he raised his voice threateningly. "If you come over, I'll call the police," I said calmly, To which I heard Oliver click his tongue in irritation.
Damn it, I'll let it slide today, but this isn't over yet.
With frustration evident in his voice, my son-in-law hung up the phone. Feeling that I couldn't delay any longer in facing Oliver's wrath, I immediately took action to rescue Iris from her husband the next day. About a week after protecting my daughter, Oliver showed up at my house in a fury. Reluctantly answering the persistent doorbell, I found Oliver standing there like a demon. "Oh, didn't I tell you I'd call the police if you came over?"
It's not about that.
Oliver seemed to have rushed here as he was out of breath, showing signs of considerable agitation. "You're out of breath. I thought you'd be coming around this time." Knowing that my son-in-law would come, I welcomed him without hesitation, despite his sudden visit. "What's the rush?"
The contract farmers suddenly stopped supplying vegetables, and I can't do business anymore.
"Oh my, that's quite a problem." Suppressing the urge to laugh at his predicament, I casually replied, and Oliver glared at me fiercely.
What do you mean by that? You know what you did.
Oliver, appearing to be on the verge of grabbing me, began to edge closer and closer. So, I showed him Iris's smartphone and played a certain voice recording. What came through the recording was Oliver's angry shout.
I'll make sure both of you regret it. What is this?
This is the voice from when you called Iris before. I let various people listen to it.
What? Who did you let listen to it?
In fact, every year at the nursery school where I had worked for many years, I used to go to the nearby farms for sweet potato digging and rice planting. I still have friendly relations with several farmers, so I let them listen to the recording and exposed Oliver's true nature. His story quickly spread throughout the nearby farming community. It's everyone in the nearby farms. They were all very surprised. Upon hearing this, Oliver turned red with anger.
What have you done? I'll sue you for obstruction of business.
Who's in trouble here? The farmers said they were originally fed up with your attitude. Initially, it seemed that my son-in-law had been cautious around the farmers, but as soon as his online shop became successful, he became overbearing. So the farmers got together and decided not to supply vegetables to you. You brought this upon yourself. My son-in-law, who had no words to retort to my argument, stomped his feet in frustration. However, it seemed he had come up with something as his face suddenly lit up.
You know, Iris is with me. She's on my side.
Oliver declared loudly and started looking around.
Oh, Iris. It's been a while. I missed you.
Spotting my daughter, Oliver approached her with a flattering tone. Iris, you finally came out. It's okay because Mom is here. Hearing Oliver's voice, my daughter summoned her courage, nodded vigorously in response to me, and turned to face him. Oliver, I won't obey you anymore. My daughter firmly rejected him, leaving my son-in-law looking bewildered for a moment, unsure of what was happening. Oliver, what do you think you did to Iris? There's no way she would ally with you.
What can you two silly women do? I'm not wrong. I'll sue both of you together, so brace yourselves.
Seeing my son-in-law's uncooperative attitude, my daughter sighed deeply. Oliver, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep up with you. Let's get a divorce.
Why yeah. Try if you can. I won't admit it even if you come crying later.
Perhaps he hadn't expected to be told such a thing by my daughter, but Oliver remained defiant to the end. albeit flustered. "Oliver, you'll be the one facing the judgment of the law." Saying so, I thrust the divorce mediation application in front of him.
What's this?
"I've already hired a lawyer. What you've done is a serious offense. We're also prepared to take legal action." Perhaps feeling pressured by the mention of lawyers and lawsuits, Oliver suddenly started sweating profusely from his forehead and began to apologize. "No matter how much you apologize, I'll never forgive you. First, apologize sincerely to Iris." With a firm tone, I demanded this from Oliver, who then clung to Iris, begging for forgiveness.
Iris, I was wrong. I won't do it again.
"I'll accept your apology. But we're still getting divorced." As Iris said this, my son-in-law looked pathetic, clinging to her and refusing to let go.
I don't want a divorce. Don't abandon me.
"Don't talk like everything's fine after tormenting my daughter. We'll proceed with the divorce through the lawyer, and I won't let you see my daughter anymore." Peeling Oliver away from my daughter, I declared firmly and escorted him out of the house. After that, with the help of a lawyer, Iris's divorce was successfully finalized. She demanded $30,000 in compensation from Oliver. His online shop suffered from a lack of fresh vegetables, and its reputation plummeted online. Despite his efforts to recover, including borrowing money from dubious sources, he ended up going out of business. With the payment of compensation and the ballooning debt repayment looming over him, it's unclear what he'll do next. Meanwhile, Iris gradually regained her physical and mental health and began looking for a job for the future. While enjoying life with my daughter, I also joined a handicraft circle to enjoy my own life. How did you like this story? Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Well then, see you in the next video.
At 2 a.m., the smartphone placed by the bedside starts ringing. Glancing at the screen, the name Nancy, my daughter, lights up. Wondering why she's calling at this hour, I hurriedly pick up the phone. "Hello, Nancy?" However, the caller turns out to be my granddaughter Amy, not my daughter Nancy.
"Grandma, Mom is crying. Help!"
She pleads desperately, her voice trembling, on the verge of tears. "Where's Dad?" I inquire.
"Dad hit Mom and left."
Amy replies. Shocked and without understanding, I quickly change and jump into the car. Entering the living room, I found Nancy sitting on the floor, crying. Amy, who had been trying hard to hold back her tears on the phone, now has a red nose and swollen eyes as she opens the door.
"It's nothing serious,"
Nancy says, her cheeks swollen and red. "What happened?" I ask.
"Well, actually."
As I listen to Nancy's story, I feel my heart sink. Embracing the crying Amy, I gently stroke her head and quietly utter. "Next, it'll be Jason," collapsing onto the floor in tears. My name is Carla, and I'm 57 years old. 2 years ago, I lost my husband, and now I live alone. My joys include visiting my daughter and her husband, who live about a 30-minute drive away, and watching my 4-year-old granddaughter Amy grow. I also engage in stock trading, a hobby my late husband taught me. As I trade stocks, I often find myself consulting with him in my mind, wondering if it's time to sell or if I should wait a bit longer. It's strange, but I feel like I hear his advice, saying,
"Let's hold on a bit longer."
Or,
"It's time now."
And oddly enough, following his words has often proven profitable. My daughter Nancy is 29 years old. She got married 5 years ago, and after Amy was born, she became a full-time homemaker. Her husband Jason works as a salesperson who visits houses individually. I used to think salespeople were high-earning elites, but it seems Jason's income isn't that great. Nancy has been doing freelance writing from home since last year. They live in a rented detached house, so the rent is quite high. However, balancing childcare, household chores, and her writing job is challenging, and it seems she hasn't seen much success. Jason doesn't compromise on anything regarding household matters. If things aren't tidy, he criticizes, and he doesn't allow shortcuts in cooking, so Nancy can't even use pre-made meals. Being consumed by household chores and cooking, she mentioned that despite her efforts, she barely earns $300 a month working from home. That's why I support my daughter's family financially every month. It's money I've earned from my hobby anyway. If it helps my dear daughter and granddaughter, I'm fine with it. I believe men have their pride, so I've advised Nancy to keep quiet about it regarding Jason. Jason's job seems both low-paying and demanding. Whenever I visit, he quickly returns to work after chatting with Nancy upstairs, often just taking a shower and rushing out immediately. Being a salesperson seems tough, Jason. I remarked once.
I need to prepare documents for the houses I'll be visiting tomorrow. It's part of the job.
He replied without complaint, showing his dedication.
I'm sorry for leaving so soon while you're here. I'll be back,
he said as he left again in his suit. Watching him leave, I sighed. I hope he doesn't wear himself out. Nancy chuckled at my words, but I could sense some dissatisfaction in her expression. Peering at her face, I teased. Are you sulking because he didn't eat the meal you made?
Huh? No, it's not that.
Nancy replied, reluctantly. It's understandable. It's his job. I reassured her.
I know.
Nancy reluctantly responded, her demeanor showing hesitation. Both Mom and Dad are busy, so if you feel lonely, just call Grandma. This picture with Amy is Grandma. I explained, teaching my icon to Amy and setting up to contact from Nancy's phone. I showed her how to make calls multiple times, ensuring she could do it on her own. I never imagined that teaching her would unexpectedly prove useful in a different way. At 2 a.m., my phone rang by my bedside. Half asleep, I fumbled for it, wondering who could be calling at this hour. When I checked the screen, Nancy's name was glowing. Worried that something might be wrong, I hurriedly answered the call. Hello, Nancy? But it wasn't my daughter Nancy on the line. It was Amy.
Grandma, Mommy is crying. Help us.
Amy said, her voice trembling, desperate to convey the message. Confused, I asked. Where's Daddy? Amy replied.
Daddy hit Mommy and left.
What? I thought I misheard. He hit her? Daddy hit Mommy? Amy confirmed. Can I talk to Mommy?
No, Mom. No matter what I say, she won't respond.
I hurriedly changed and jumped into the car. When I arrived home and pressed the intercom, Amy opened the front door for me. Amy, who had been desperately holding back her tears on the phone, now had a red nose and eyes from crying. I'm sure she was extremely anxious during the 30 minutes before I arrived. Where's Mom?
Over there.
I patted Amy's head, indicating the living room, and took off my shoes. As I walked down the hallway, Amy followed me, sobbing. In the living room, Nancy was sitting on the floor, crying. Her disheveled hair, covering her face with one hand as she cried, made me and Amy both uneasy. "Nancy, what happened?" I shook her shoulders forcefully, and Nancy looked up, startled.
Mom?
She muttered in a bewildered tone, not understanding why I was there. "Where did he hit you? Show me." I unwrapped Nancy's hand. The area she had been covering was red and swollen. Nancy gasped, and covered it again with her hand.
"It was just a slap. Nothing serious."
Her voice trembled as she said so. I couldn't believe it was nothing serious. Even if it was a marital dispute, I couldn't believe he would hit her so hard. What happened? I dabbed Nancy's cheek with a wet towel.
"Actually, I couldn't tell Mom until now. But it seems like Jason is cheating."
Cheating?
"Yes. The other day, he said he was going back to work, but he asked me for money. Why would he need tens of thousands of dollars to go back to work?"
I don't know, but just suspecting cheating because of that.
"The other day, when Jason wasn't home, I looked through his bag and found a lighter with a hotel's name on it. It's not a hotel for staying alone. It's the kind of hotel a man goes to with a woman. He's asked for money from you several times before. So today, I refused."
And then he hit you?
"Yes. But he even tried to hit Amy, who was trying to stop him. I desperately intervened, and in the end, he took money from my wallet and left."
Listening to Nancy's story, I felt my heart chilling.
What shocked me the most was that Jason tried to hit Amy. I kept thinking if I could continue living with such a person.
Amy tightly grasped my sleeve, perhaps recalling that moment. She whimpered and burst into tears. I felt unforgiving. Of course, cheating was unacceptable, but raising a hand to family was despicable, and I trembled with anger. Fathers are supposed to protect their families. I wanted to shout. But lecturing wouldn't damage him. If he had any remorse, it would have happened when Nancy spoke up or when he attempted to strike our daughter. Embracing the crying Amy, gently stroking her head, I quietly uttered, "Next time collapsing on the floor in tears will be Jason's turn."
"Huh?"
I smiled and nodded reassuringly at Nancy's anxious gaze. "Just live with Jason a little longer. It'll be okay. I'll live with you too." I added and continued. "We'll buy a voice recorder to record all conversations with Jason."
"But if he demands money, he might hit Amy again."
"Record it when he demands money too. You can give him the money, that's fine. Keep Amy always with me. I'm worried about you, but we also need evidence," I explained.
"As long as Amy is safe, I'll be okay,"
nodded Nancy with a mother's resolve, and I captured her face with my smartphone. "Even your swollen cheek will be evidence." The next day, I barged into Nancy's house with my belongings in tow. "It seems Nancy isn't feeling well. I'll stay with you for a while to take care of the house and Amy," I stated. Jason was taken aback by my sudden visit, wearing an apologetic expression.
"Oh, you really shouldn't be inconvenienced. I'll help with the house and Amy."
His amiability was fitting for a salesman, indeed.
"Amy tends to run around, and it would be exhausting for you."
His concern for me truly made him seem kind-hearted. That's all right. What worries me more is whether Jason will be satisfied with the lunchbox I make. It's a secret from Nancy, but if you aren't full, you can buy something with this, I whispered as I discreetly handed Jason $200.
"Oh, I feel really bad about this."
Scratching his head, Jason pocketed the money despite his words. With this, he couldn't oppose my decision to stay here anymore. From that day on, I made sure to spend all my time with Amy whenever Jason returned home, even joining her in the bath. While being cautious not to let Amy overheat, I made sure we stayed in the bath for at least an hour. This was to allow Jason to talk to Nancy without being wary of my presence. "Thanks, we're done," Jason would say when we exited the bath.
"Well, I guess it's my turn now,"
he'd say with a smile. "Take your time," I'd reply. While appearing friendly with Jason on the surface, as soon as he entered the bathroom, I turned to Nancy for confirmation. "Did he say anything?" I asked.
He did. He seemed puzzled because Mom suddenly decided to live with us.
Nancy replied with a chuckle.
When he asked if I had said anything, I told him about yesterday when he hit me. He went silent, so I said, "Surely I can't say that."
"And what did he say?"
Then he threatened, "Shut up, or I'll hit you again." He dug his own grave without realizing he was being recorded.
Seeing Nancy laugh eased my worries. She seemed like a different person from the one I saw last night. I hoped that my presence would be a source of encouragement. We nodded in agreement, knowing we had taken the first step. On the evening of the next day, while Jason was taking a bath, what we did was to check his line messages. It was to find out if he was cheating, but to our dismay, Jason seemed to have relationships with multiple people.
Even with children, how could he do this?
Nancy muttered, disgust evident in her voice. With so many women he was cheating with, no amount of money would ever be enough.
"Wanna meet up? Let's go to that hotel again. Yesterday was amazing."
These were the messages included in the chat. Slowly scrolling, we recorded Jason's phone along with the conversation.
Wait a minute. Does this mean?
Nancy paused, staring at the screen intently. The chat contained these words.
"Next week, come over to my place again. Mr. Salesman."
With last week's date. Ending with a heart emoji, Nancy frowned in discomfort.
He even got involved with clients?
Disgusted and speechless, we looked up at the ceiling, sighing deeply. The next day, we went to consult with a lawyer. Mr. Smith, the lawyer, listened carefully to our story. He explained that a video recording of line chat alone wasn't solid evidence. He suggested that if we had photos of the two entering and leaving the hotel, hotel receipts, credit card statements, and so forth, it would be helpful. This one with the date last week. I paused the video we were watching together and pointed to the words.
"Next week, come over to our place again. Mr. Salesman."
Spoken by a woman.
Next week means this week, right? We might still be in time.
We immediately decided to hire a private investigator and requested an investigation, including Jason's actions during work, how much time he spent at clients' homes, and so on. 3 days later, we received a call from the detective. After reviewing the investigation report, we nodded with satisfaction. "It's fantastic. Please continue," we told the detective. Having obtained evidence of infidelity, we proceeded with plans to set a trap for Jason at home. I withdrew a portion of the money I earned from stocks, $50,000 from the bank, and placed it in the dresser on the second floor of Nancy's house. It was located in the bedroom where I was staying overnight in their house. The dresser was nearly empty already. While Jason was working during the day, we had been gradually moving clothes and personal belongings to my house so we could move out anytime. Since the drawers were empty, the money would stand out conspicuously. The neatly bundled bills of $10,000 each would surely catch Jason's eye. I gave Jason $200 the other day. "How long do you think that will last?" I asked. And Nancy responded, tilting her head.
It varies depending on the situation. But if he thinks Mom has money, he might spend it all soon.
That would be a good timing then. We gently closed the drawer containing the $50,000. That night, as usual, I was about to take a bath with Amy when my phone rang. It was Nancy calling. I had asked Nancy to call me if Jason demanded money. I told Amy to wait for a moment and quietly made my way upstairs, carefully listening outside the bedroom where I stayed overnight.
More money? What on earth are you using it for?
Shut up. Your mother can hear you. Just give it to me quietly. Or else.
What? Are you going to hit me again?
If you don't want to get hit, give me the money quickly. What's taking so long?
Nancy sighed and I heard the drawer opening.
Here. $500.
What's wrong with you? Giving me such a big amount.
As I heard the sound of the drawer closing, I slid open the sliding door. Sorry, Nancy, Jason. I was going to take a bath but suddenly felt dizzy. Can I lay down for a bit?
Huh? Are you okay, Mom?
Nancy immediately prepared the bed, and I lay down. Even Jason, with no room for a polite smile, muttered something and left the room. When I heard Jason leaving from the front door a while later, I got up from the bed. We need to hurry. We left Nancy's house with the money from the dresser and our belongings packed. The next day, Jason received a call from lawyer Smith. We scheduled a meeting with Smith present to discuss divorce arrangements. Then, I made a call to Jason's workplace, informing them that I had an important matter to discuss as Jason's mother-in-law. I asked to speak with the manager and relayed the message, requesting them to keep it confidential until the meeting. With that, everything was set in motion. On the day of the discussion, Jason visited my house. I had instructed Amy not to come downstairs. Jason, without greeting me, sat abruptly across from Nancy, not bothering to conceal his dissatisfaction. Lawyer Smith greeted and handed over his business card, to which Jason mumbled and nodded in response.
So? You want a divorce? What are your demands?
Jason turned to Nancy and bluntly stated.
Yes, I do. I want a divorce. And I also want alimony and child support.
Nancy replied.
What? Are you kidding me? You just left the house out of the blue wanting a divorce and now you demand alimony and child support? Mr. Smith, the inconvenience is on my side.
Jason banged the table, glared at Nancy, and looked troubled at Mr. Smith.
I have evidence of your infidelity. And evidence of domestic violence.
Nancy placed photos of Jason and another woman leaving a hotel taken by a detective on the table. Then I showed a photo from my phone of Nancy's swollen cheek and played a voice recording where Jason admitted to being violent.
Disgusting. Did you deceive me? Recording even such conversations secretly. Huh?
Jason raised his voice and tried to grab Nancy's collar, but Mr. Smith and I intervened.
Please calm down. Acting too aggressively could get you in trouble.
Mr. Smith retorted sharply. Jason reluctantly complied with Mr. Smith's firm words and settled back down.
I intend to hear both sides as much as possible. However, if this mediated divorce fails, Nancy seems inclined toward divorce mediation or litigation. She seems well prepared with evidence and doesn't seem willing to back down.
Smith subtly urges Jason to relent. Jason, who had been silent in thought, suddenly exclaimed.
But even if it's a divorce because of my infidelity, I still have the right to property division, right?
Smith responds.
That's correct. If Mr. Jason claims it.
Jason triumphantly declares.
Then I'll claim it. Tough luck, Nancy. I don't have any property left, so hand over half of yours.
Nancy calmly retorts.
I don't have any either.
Jason, taken aback, stares at Nancy for a moment before she repeats.
I have no property at all.
Jason, shocked, accuses.
Don't lie. There was $50,000 in the drawer.
I explained. Oh, that was mine.
My mom has been supporting us monthly. The money you received was also from my mother's assistance.
With a horrified expression, Jason exclaims, Jason, what? Nancy continues. If you and Nancy divorce, I won't have any reason to support you. In fact, I whisper to Jason. I'm filled with the desire to sue for assaulting my precious daughter. Jason pales. Unfortunately, it seems the shock of not receiving money hits her harder than my words. But we do not intend to end it with this. And with that, Nancy laid out several more photos on the table. They were pictures of Jason making sales visits, depicted visiting a single house.
You spent an hour and a half at this house. Is it usual for sales visits to take that long? What were you doing inside?
Jason chuckled at Nancy's words.
Well, sales visits involve explaining the product and various things. It can take a while. Sometimes there are questions.
I see.
Nancy chuckled faintly as she placed more photos down.
Do you have to strip down to your underwear for product demonstrations? Sounds tough. What kind of explanation is that?
There, a photo showed Jason standing shirtless by a window. He must think they can't be seen much through the lace curtains. Even through the lace curtains, the woman embracing Jason in her underwear was clearly recognizable.
There's more.
Nancy placed an A4-sized paper on the table and showed Jason, his voice choked with disgust.
I've had a detective continuing the investigation all along. It's a list of your cheating partners. If I compare this with your company's client list, you'll see just how many clients you've been involved with.
Jason was already speechless. At that moment, I rose from my seat at the sound of the doorbell. What a perfect timing, I said. To my words, Jason exclaimed.
No way.
As I opened the door and courteously expressed gratitude, Jason gasped when he saw the person I ushered into the living room.
Boss.
Jason exclaimed, collapsing onto the floor, clutching the photos and lists on the table to his stomach.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll pay compensation, child support, and anything. Please forgive me.
Jason pleaded. Nancy and I exchanged glances and sighed. How unfortunate, I said.
You're too late. We've already prepared duplicates of everything,
Nancy added. We placed the photos and lists in front of the boss. As the boss looked through them in disbelief, Jason's cries echoed through the room. Naturally, Jason was fired. Furthermore, he's being sued by the company and by the husbands of his clients. Apparently, the clients' wives turned them back on him.
I was tempted.
I was coerced.
And made Jason the sole villain. It's his own fault, I believe. Of course, Nancy shows no mercy. She's demanding compensation and child support through Mr. Smith. Unable to pay everything he has been owed and even his rent, Jason was evicted from his home. Come to think of it, Nancy mentioned seeing him doing road work, a job he's not used to. He looked like he was about to cry as he was yelled at by younger colleagues. As for us, we are happily living together in my house, the three of us. Nancy has started working outside the home. While I take care of Amy, I don't feel any burden at all. On the contrary, Every day feels fulfilling. Even though we live together, Amy still occasionally calls from Nancy's phone.
I love you, Grandma.
Hearing her lively voice fills me with happiness.